I just want to remind everyone again that we do have a mutual sequestration order in place. If you're expected to testify during these hearings or during this trial, you should exit the courtroom. At this time, there have been some exceptions that have made that have been placed on the record, so you know if you should be in the courtroom or not. I am asking the attorneys to ensure that they're marshaling their witnesses. To the people who are sitting in the gallery who are here to observe, whether you're with the complainants' families or with the defendant's family, I am asking you to be very respectful. If you have to leave the courtroom, please do so quietly. I would ask that you also limit your movement in the courtroom during testimony. Madam Prosecutor, you can call your first witness.
You will call Andre Powell.
Madam Prosecutor, can I speak with you a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Please spell your first and last name for the record.
Andre Powell.
Spell it for me.
ANDREPOWEL.
Thank you. Raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
State your name for the record.
Andre Powell. You can hear me?
Sorry?
Y'all can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh.
Mr. Powell, I'm going to take you back to May 25th of 2019. Did you have a family member by the name of Alunte Davis?
Yes.
Who was Alunte to you?
My son.
And on May 25th, did you go to the Wayne County morgue?
Yes.
For what purpose?
To view the body?
Did you identify your son at the morgue?
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to approach proposal number 27. Mr. Callahan?
I'm sorry.
Approaching number 27.
Go ahead.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
Mr. Powell, I'm showing you proposed exhibit number 27. Who is that?
My son.
That's Alunte Davis?
Yes.
Move for the admission of 27.
Any objection?
No objection.
People's proposal exhibit 27 is admitted.
May I publish?
You may.
Mr. Powell, I'm going to direct your attention to the screen behind you. Would you turn around, please? And for the jury, who is that?
My son, Alunte Davis.
How old was Alunte when he died?
20.
Thank you. No further questions.
Cross-examination.
No question.
Mr. Powell, you have been excused.
Oh.
You're done. Thank you. Please call your next witness.
We'll call Lekenya court.
Let us know for me, please. Stand in front of the witness chair for me, please. Spell your first and last name for the record.
LNKENYACARTER.
Thank you. Raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. You may proceed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Lekenya Carter.
Ms. Carter, did you know a person by the name of Paris Cameron?
Yes.
Who was Paris to you?
My son.
And on May 25th of 2019, did you go to the Wayne County morgue?
Yes. West St. John's.
You went to St. John's first.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I went to St. John. I was called there, and I seen my son laying there, just beautifully, just he was dead.
Excuse me, I'm just going to ask that you keep your voice up, okay, so that we can hear. I understand
Yes.
this is emotional for you, ma'am, but I need to be able to hear your testimony.
Okay.
As do the jurors. I just need you to keep your voice up if you can, please. Madam Prosecutor.
You said that you went to St. John's first. Tell me about that, please.
When we went there, he was dead. They was because he was an organ donor.
I'm going to ask that you speak into the microphone.
Because he was an organ donor. They still had him on life support, but they told me he was dead, but they was trying to get his organs.
When you went to the hospital, Paris had already passed.
Yes,
Did you bring a photo of your child?
yes. Paris, this is Paris as a boy and Paris as a girl. I bought 3 pictures for you.
Thank you. Did you hear that?
Go.
I have 3 pictures of Paris, 1 as a boy and 2 of them as a girl, because Paris wanted to be a transgender.
Showing 25, Mr. Callahan. With the admission of 25, Your Honor.
Any objection?
Motion.
People's proposed exhibit 25 is admitted.
I'm going to publish the jury, Your Honor.
You may.
Ms. Carter, you said that your son was transgender?
Yes, for about a year, the last year.
It means that he identified as women?
Yes, he came out when he was 13 and let me know he was gay. I had no problem with that. That's my child. It's okay.
And the photo that you brought was how your son looked at the times that he passed?
With the female, with the hair.
Thank you.
Examination.
No questions.
Ma'am, you thank you, excuse.
Okay.
Double bump, Bolson. Your Honor, may Ms. Carter remain in the courtroom? Yes.
Okay, before we get started, I'm going to ask you to switch your gun on, please. Thank you. Please stand in front of the chairs, spell your first and last name for the record.
Devel, Bolson, B-O-W.
Can you raise your hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Devel, Bolson.
Mr. Bolson, do you know a person by the name of Timothy Blancher?
Yes, that's my younger brother.
Did you go on May 25th of 2019 to the Wayne County Morgue?
Yes.
For what purpose?
To identify his body.
This was Timothy?
Yes.
And you did that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Cross-examination.
No questions.
You thank you, excuse. Call your next witness.
People call Dr. Leigh Hlavaty.
Good morning. Step in front of me, please. Spell your first and last name for the record.
The first name is Leigh, L-E-I-G-H. The last name is Hlavaty, and that is spelled H-L-A-V-A-T-Y.
Thank you. Raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. You may be seated. Whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, or good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name for the record?
My name is Dr. Leigh Hlavaty.
How are you employed?
I'm the Deputy Chief Medical Examiner at the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office.
What does that mean?
That means that I primarily have 2 responsibilities. One is to perform autopsies and determine cause and manner of death. The second is to supervise the day-to-day operations of the office, including the assistant medical examiners, and oversee all of the educational activities that occur throughout the office.
Do you perform postmortem exams?
Yes, I do.
What are postmortem exams?
They are autopsies. They are examinations that forensic pathologists will perform on bodies to determine cause and manner of death.
Do you receive training to conduct these exams?
Yes.
Please tell me about that.
First, you have to graduate from medical school. Then you do residency in the field of anatomic pathology. You then do a fellowship in the field of forensic pathology. And then at the end of that training, you hopefully become board certified in both anatomic pathology and forensic pathology.
Are you board certified?
Yes, I am.
Have you ever testified as an expert in forensic pathology?
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Over 400 times.
Have you ever failed to qualify as an expert?
No.
I'll turn the witness over for Hlavaty.
Judge, I have no questions.
Then I would ask the court to accept your testimony as an expert in the field of forensic pathology.
I will agree, Judge.
Dr. Hlavaty, you qualified as an expert in forensic pathology. Please proceed with questions.
Dr. Hlavaty, did you conduct a post-mortem exam of a Paris Cameron?
Yes, I did.
Tell me about that.
In general terms of the autopsy, or what would you like to know?
Well, let's start with an external exam. Did you do that?
Yes. On the external exam of Mr. Cameron, there were 4 gunshot wounds present on the body. Then there was also a laceration above his right brow.
Can you tell me about those 4 gunshot wounds?
Yes, there was an entrance gunshot wound on the left side of his head above the ear, and that bullet went through the skull and the brain and then exited the right side of his head.
Doctor, I apologize. As you explained, would you please point to yourself, please?
Certainly. Again, there was an entrance on the left side of the head above the ear that exited the right side above the ear. There was an entrance on the left back of the lower head for which a bullet was recovered from the scalp. There was a through-and-through gunshot wound to the left upper back, meaning that the bullet entered, passed through the soft tissue, and then exited. And then there was also an entrance gunshot wound on his left shoulder that passed through the soft tissue and then exited on the front of the left shoulder.
So there were 3 through-and-through wounds, is that correct?
Yes.
And then there was one to the back of the head that lodged in the skull?
Lodged in the scalp, so there was 1 bullet recovered.
Do you recover those bullets and keep them?
Yes.
And was that done in this case?
Yes.
Tell me more about the external exam, please.
There was also a laceration, which is a skin tear, and this was above his right brow.
Anything else?
No.
What about the internal exam?
On the internal exam, the only gunshot wound that actually entered the body and affected vital organs was the one to the left side of the head. That bullet passed through the skull and the brain. It resulted in extensive fracturing of the skull, bleeding on the brain, and then the brain was also swollen as a result of the injury.
What was the cause of death in this case?
The cause of Mr. Cameron's death was multiple gunshot wounds.
What was the manner?
The manner of death is homicide.
What is homicide?
To the medical examiner, it simply means death was caused by another person.
Anything else significant about this post-mortem exam?
No.
Do you know if there was a blood card taken?
There was a blood card for DNA and identification purposes, yes.
Anything else done with this exam?
No.
What about Timothy Blanchard we'll start with Timothy Blanchard.
Timothy Blanchard was an autopsy performed by a Dr. Avnish Gupta, who no longer works with our office. He now works for the New York Medical Examiner. However, I did review the report and the autopsy photos, and I agree with his findings and his conclusions.
So you are the chief medical examiner.
I'm the deputy chief.
Are you responsible for supervising other medical examiners?
Yes.
Was Dr. Gupta one of these?
Yes.
And when he moved to New York, did you take Timothy Blanchard's file and review it yourself?
Yes, I did.
Did you make your own findings in the case?
Yes.
Why do you make your own findings?
Because if I'm expected to come to court, I'm going to testify on my findings and my interpretation of the autopsy findings, not on someone else's.
So you redo the work to the best of your ability?
Yes.
Tell me how you do that.
Simply by reviewing the contents of the entire file and the autopsy photos, and then going through the report carefully to make sure that, in this case, all of the gunshot wounds were interpreted properly and that the proper conclusion to cause and manner of death was made.
Did you make a determination of cause and manner of death as to Timothy Blanchard?
Yes.
Tell me about
He died from multiple gunshot wounds. Specifically, there were 4 present.
Tell me about those.
Yes, there was an entrance gunshot wound on the chest, just right of the midline. Recovered from the right lower back for that wound. There was an entrance gunshot wound on the back of the left shoulder with bullet and bullet fragments recovered from the chest. There was a superficial through and through gunshot wound on the left upper back with injury only to the soft tissue. And then finally, there was an entrance wound on the left lower back with a corresponding exit wound on the right lower back.
Anything else?
No.
What about the internal exam?
On the internal exam, there were 2 of these wounds were superficial, the one to the left upper back and the one to the left lower back. The one to the chest passed through his right lung, his diaphragm, his liver, his kidney, and then the bullet was in the right lower back where it was recovered. And then the wound to the back of the left shoulder passed through his left lung, his aorta, and into his right lung, and there were bullet fragments recovered along that wound tract.
Anything else about the internal exam?
No.
Was there a toxicology done?
Yes.
Please tell me about that.
Specimens were drawn for toxicology, and he was positive for 2 substances. One was alcohol at a concentration of 0.02, and then he also had breakdown products of marijuana in his system.
I didn't ask you earlier, but was there a toxicology done for Paris Cameron?
No, there was not.
Why not?
That was because he had gone to the hospital and survived for about 10 hours, and then he was an organ donor. So we received the body several days after his death. The specimens we would have drawn would have only shown hospital therapy, and there was no admission blood sample left in the hospital for us to test for toxicology.
Going back to Timothy Blanchard, was there anything taken from Timothy Blanchard for identification and DNA?
Yes, there was a DNA card prepared for him as well.
What is a DNA card?
That is simply a card that we put droplets of blood on, and it dries, and then it is retained forever for the purposes of a DNA exam for identification if need be.
And as to the cause and manner of death for Timothy Blanchard?
He died from multiple gunshot wounds, and the manner of death is homicide.
Again, what is homicide?
Homicide is death caused by another person.
As to Alunte Davis, did you conduct a post-mortem exam or a review of a post-mortem exam in this case?
This autopsy was also performed by Dr. Avnish Gupta, but I did review the file similar to Mr. Blanchard, and I agree with his conclusions and observations.
You made your own independent findings?
Yes.
How did you do that?
Again, I reviewed all of the contents of the file and the photographs, and then reconstructed the report.
As to Alunte Davis, could you please tell me about the external exam?
He had 2 gunshot wounds present. One was on the neck, and then the other was on his right lower abdomen. He also had an abrasion on his left back.
Anything else?
No.
What about the internal exam?
On the internal exam, the wound on his neck passed through the blood vessels, his throat, his cervical spine, and the blood vessels on his left side of the neck, and a bullet was recovered just under the skin on the left side of the neck. The wound to the left abdomen injured the skin only.
Anything else?
No.
What about the toxicology?
His toxicology was positive for alcohol at a concentration of 0.14 and breakdown products of marijuana.
Anything else regarding this exam?
No.
What about the cause and manner of death as to Alunte Davis?
The cause of death is multiple gunshot wounds, and the manner of death homicide.
Again, what is homicide?
Death caused by another person.
Nothing further, thank you.
Cross-examination.
You said the alcohol concentration, I believe, for Mr. Blanchard was at 0.24?
Yes. No, I'm sorry, 0.025.
0.025.
Yes.
Which, in terms of legal limits for driving purposes, for instance, was 3 times the limit, correct?
Objections relevant.
Just trying to give the jury an idea of what a 0.24 is.
He wasn't driving, so the court is going to say.
And it was 0.02.
0.025. Court was to say. Rejection.
All right. You did find Mr. Davis and Mr. Blanchard?
Yes.
call Clifton Blair.
Good morning, please spell your first and last name for the record.
CLIFTONKEYS.
Thank you. Raise your right hand for me, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you. You may be seated.
I'm not there.
Good morning.
Come on.
Vanessa.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you before you, Mr. Keys. I need you to keep your voice up for me, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
You have an outside voice?
Yes.
I want you to use it in here so that everybody can hear what you're saying, okay? Thank you. And back to you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Could you please state your name for the record?
Clifton Keys.
Mr. Keys, is there a name that you use in your everyday life?
Blair.
I'm going to take you back to May 25th of 2019. Were you at 3474 Devonshire on that date?
Yes.
For what purpose?
Because my friends had invited me over. Tay, Paris, and Miami. Or Timothy.
You said Tay, is that Alunte?
Alunte Davis, Timothy Blancher, and Paris Cameron had invited me to Devonshire.
Okay, you used the word Miami. Who is Miami?
Miami is the name that Timothy I went by.
So you called Timothy Blanchard Miami.
Yes.
The Devonshire home that you went to, do you know who that belonged to?
It belonged to Lance.
About what time did you go over to Devonshire on that day?
I went about 8 o'clock that day.
Okay, so it would
or
be
evening.
the Friday night on the 24th that you started.
Yes.
And when you got over there, did you stay until the early morning hours?
Yes.
So I'm going to go and take you to about 10:30, 11 o'clock. Were you guys outside at the house that time?
Yes. We ended up making a run to the gas station to get Rellos.
Before we go to the gas station, though, did you guys ever at some point have an issue with the neighbor earlier in the night?
Yes, because we were making a lot of noise, of course. We were partying outside. I was playing loud music, and they had basically complained about the music being loud in our voice volumes.
This is hours before you go to the gas station?
Like a couple of hours, yes.
Right. During this time, who was at the house?
Around this time, it was just the five of us and Lance.
Okay, who's the five of us?
And Brendan. Me, Paris, Tay, Alunte, Timothy, and Armand, and Lance, and Brendan.
Who's Brendan?
Brendan is someone, I guess, that was dealing with Armand at the time.
Okay, when you say dealing with Armand, what does that mean?
Like, they were like a thing. They weren't dating, he said, but they were like talking.
Is Armand someone that you have a history with?
Yes, we went to school together.
Do you have a dating history with Armand?
Yes.
But not at that time?
Not at that time, no.
So earlier in the night, when you're all outside being loud, you said you were playing loud music, there was an issue with one of the neighbors?
Yes, but they just was telling us to, like, lower the volume.
Was a gun fired at some point?
Yes, we went to the gas station the first time, and like we had ended up taking selfies at a liquor store that was like right across the street from it. And during that time, we had heard a gunshot.
Was this related to?
I'm not sure. It was just a random one.
Did you see Paris interacting with anyone?
She was interacting with her cousin. I guess his friend had locks, and then it was a girl with them. I don't know her name though.
All right, so this was earlier in the night. Someone fired a weapon near you.
Yes.
Do you know why that happened?
No, I had no idea. I was in a car.
But you heard the loudness outside.
Yes.
Okay, again, give me the location one more time.
It was off of Mac by Devonshire. So basically by where the gas station was, like right off Mac.
Is there a road named Haverhill near there? Do you know that area?
Could you pull up like a map
Sure.
that I can see?
May I approach the witness, Your Honor? Showing the witness proposed number 2. Do you recognize this map?
Yes. You said what's the name of the street?
Do you see Haverhill on there?
Yes.
Where?
It's on the left side of on the right side of the BP gas station.
Do you see Devonshire on that map?
So I'm going to have to ask the witness to,
Yes.
ask the clerk to please instruct him to be louder.
Sir, please, I need you to keep your voice up, okay? Maybe, can we move the microphone a little closer to him? Maybe that will help amplify his voice.
Oh, this is my. Yes, but it's on the right side of the BP gas station, but it's on the left, and I do see Devonshire diagonally from it.
And do you see Buckingham?
Yes.
Move for the mission number 2.
Any objection?
No objection.
May I publish?
Proposed exhibit number 2 is admitted, you may publish.
One moment, Ronnie. All right. Blair, I'm going to have you turn around and look at the screen. And you indicated that you saw Haverhill.
Yes.
All right. You see Haverhill where the arrow is?
Yes.
And that's what you indicated to when you testified before?
Yes.
All right. Where is Devonshire?
Devonshire is right here. Where's green at?
Please take that down.
Okay, so you said you were at a liquor store where there was an altercation with a neighbor, correct?
Yeah, it was a closed liquor store.
Okay.
Because Paris wanted to take selfies.
All right. Now, you go back to the Devonshire house after that?
Yes. Like right after I heard the gunshots, I had ran straight to well, not ran, but drove off.
All right, so let's go to 2:30 in the morning now. Who's over at Lance's house?
Me, Brendan, Timothy.
I did not hear his complete answer what he did after those gunshots.
And the prosecutor, please ask the question again. Mr. Keys, please keep your voice up. Lean into the mic if you need to, okay? It is essential that the defense attorney is able to hear your response, okay? If he's having difficulty, I suspect some of the jurors may be having difficulty as well, all right? Madam Prosecutor.
Thank you. All right, earlier in the evening, when we were talking about this gunshot, you said that Paris was taking selfies. You were at a location that
I was in the car.
You were in the car. There were other people outside. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, after you heard a gunshot, what did you do?
I drove straight off right after I heard the gunshot.
Where was Paris at this point?
She had jumped in the car, so I was assuming that she was right behind me. But as soon as I had looked behind me, I didn't see no black, because she was in a black Charger. So as soon as I noticed that she wasn't behind me, I went back up to the liquor store to see if she was there. She wasn't there. I went back.
At some point, do you guys all end up back at Devonshire?
Yes, we all eventually end up meeting back 30 minutes later. Because, for some odd reason, she didn't come straight back, so I was a little worried,
But eventually, she shows up back to the house.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're going to move to 2:30 in the morning. Who is at the Devonshire house at 2:30 in the morning?
2:30 in the morning, it's me, Lance, Brendan, Armand Matthews, Timothy Blancher, Alunte Davis, and that's it.
What about Brendan?
Brendan, he was also there.
Okay. And do you guys decide to go to the gas station?
Yes, we go back to the gas station because we had ended up running out of Rellos because we was smoking a lot that night. So.
What's a Rillo?
A Rello is just a weed tobacco product.
And you say that you go back to the gas station, is that correct?
Yes.
Is this located at Buckingham and Mack?
Yes, the exact same BP gas station that we had went to the first time.
All right. Who goes at this time at 2:30 in the morning?
Me, Tay, Timothy, Armand, and that's it.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Oh, in Paris. Paris too.
No. Sorry.
We're back on the record. At this point, we are going to take a break. I'm going to allow the jury to go back into the jury room. That the prosecutor have an opportunity to queue up whatever video or exhibit that she needs to show the jury. And if my clerk says so, we'll handle perhaps another matter in the interim while we get that done.
Thanks, sir.
All rise for the jury.
Notebooks on your chair.
You may be seated and remain quiet.